Hola, buenas tardes. Estamos aquí en la entrevista de cómo ha afectado el COVID-19 en la comunidad de San Antonio, Texas. Buenas tardes, hoy estamos a 28 de febrero del 2021. Estamos con el señor Michael Juárez, quien nos va a hablar sobre cómo ha afectado el COVID-19 en la comunidad de San Antonio, Texas, en lo personal, económico, geográfico, gubernamental. Empezamos primero que nada. Mi nombre es Ana María Juárez. Soy estudiante graduada de la Universidad de Texas en San Antonio, del Departamento de Modern Language and Literature. Y estoy cursando la maestría de español. Buenas tardes, señor Michael. ¿Cómo está?
Good.
Bueno, vamos a empezar primero que nada con las preguntas, las bibliografías, o sea, las preguntas básicas de su nombre, su edad y dónde nació y dónde ha crecido.
My name is Michael Wattis, 48 years old. I was born in San Antonio, Texas.
And you grew up in San Antonio, Texas too?
Yes, I did.
Good. What are the primary things do you do in day to day? So your daily routines.
Wake up early in the morning, go to work, work from 7 in the morning till 5:30. Work 10 hours a day, and come home. Sometimes make dinner for my kids and my wife, and just get ready for the next day, and then Monday through Friday, that same thing over and over.
Good. So where do you live and what is like to live there?
I live in San Antonio, Texas. It's nice to live here. I mean, I don't like the weather too much. I'd rather have like in the daytime, like in the 70s, but no. I live here, I grew up here, and so I have to deal with all the 100-degree days.
During summertime, correct?
Yes.
Okay. What is your life like?
My life, like my it's good. I got 2 kids, I got 2 boys, and they keep me busy. Sometimes drive me crazy, but I love them to death. Um, and then I have my wife, um, very hard worker, and supporting her for her career.
Good. What have shaped you into the person you are now?
Mm, I'd have to say my mom and dad. They showed me things when I was young, um, right from wrong and all that stuff. Polite, opening doors for people, no matter who. Um, just basic stuff you learn when you were back in the day when I was growing up. Not like kids today, they're not as sympathetic.
What do you want people to know about who you are now?
That I'm a father of 2. I'm married, um, have a job, have a house. The American dream, as they say. No white picket fence, though.
Okay. Okay, well, we can start with the first early questions related with the COVID-19, con el COVID-19. Por ejemplo, you remember it's almost like a year ago when we started to hear more, maybe a little bit more in the news. So based on that, How do you feel in the middle of March when the first start to change because of COVID-19 in the US? In the US, how do you like change from you?
Well, I think it was like maybe like a year ago. This guy from work was showing me like YouTube videos of the COVID, and I didn't really believe it. I was like, because they were showing people walking in the street in China, and then they're just falling over and like dying in the street, which I don't think that's really true. But yeah, um, back in March, me and my family went to NASA, and then from one week to the next, everything like the whole world turned upside down. When we had to go to the store and stand in line, um, like if we were a communist country, it was kind of surreal. It was like the only stuff you see and that I used to see that I saw like in movies from back in the day. It was kind of weird. It was like a dream or more like a nightmare.
Mm. So you were saying be standing, based on what you tell me, be standing in line to go to the market in this case.
Yeah, you can't just in the store anymore. You have to stand in line, which was not very joyful.
So 1 week, because you are saying right now the 1 week when you hear that you go to the NASA with your family, the following week it was just way too different.
The following week, yeah, the following weekend was like it was like did a total 180 the society from one thing to the total 180. I mean, totally different from how it was a week before.
And this is the start to worry about it, or you just kind of like seeing in the different perspective, like what are the people doing this, or this is really true, or this is really happening. What are your thoughts during that time, the first week that you mentioned?
I didn't know what to believe. I mean, making everybody wear masks and all that. Um,
During that time you are wearing a mask?
Unfortunately, yes, I didn't like wearing the mask. Um, had to go to work because at the time I was working at a hospital. So it was pretty calm when it first started. I mean, from the whole time I was there, I mean, I didn't really see much. They would have one or two patients, couple of patients a week, and they would have to um, disinfect the hallways and all. So they would close off everything. Where if we had, because we were going back and forth from floor to floor.
So you're working in that time in San Antonio?
Yes.
And can you mention the name of the place you're working during that time that you've seen?
Yeah. Westover Hills, Santa Rosa, Westover Hills.
So you don't see it too much as the news show it? You
Yeah, I
don't
didn't see too much.
see this?
I mean, they're like the time they're showing the hospitals in New York were like crazy, and but over here, I mean, it was like because they weren't allowing patients anymore. They didn't, and like regular patients, they if they got sick or the patients that had um like to see the doctor or whatever or to have surgery, they were postponing all that stuff. I mean, they did have surgeries, but they were few and far between, and I didn't see too much COVID patients. I saw like a few maybe. I didn't see them, but they would close off hallways, so you knew they were taking patients from to and from wherever they were taking them. But it
So,
wasn't like overcrowded or anything. Far from that.
okay. So based on what you're saying right now, so do you as soon as you get out from work, what was you maybe your way to think when you go back home as you'll be working during that time in the hospital?
Well, at the time, I was watching a lot of news, and they were like showing all that stuff that was going on in New York or in all the cities, but I didn't see it where I was working. It was hard for me to believe any of that was true.
And with telling me that, what did you watch in the news? Is this in a specific channel or maybe an app in your phone and your cell phone?
Like on my phone, or sometimes I go home, we watch the news, see what's going on with that, because they're already having all those health updates with that Dr. Fauci guy. And sometimes you'd see YouTube videos, like kind of hard for me to believe because I was working at a hospital at the time, and they're making it seem like it was very hectic, but I didn't see that. And, I mean, I guess it was going on all over the place, but I didn't see it over there at that hospital.
Okay. And you tell me, do you watch the news, right? And is it a specific like local news, international news?
News, ABC News, all that stuff, world news.
And based on that, do you think, what do you think of how the pandemic is being covered in the news?
Being covered,
Yes.
at first, I think they were exaggerating. It was, I mean, I didn't really believe it, but later on I did. I thought they were just exaggerating, trying to scare people.
And either one for the local news in here in San Antonio, Texas?
No, that's totally different from the world news because they were showing like California and all these other places. But New York was pretty bad, I guess. Showing like trailers with freezers, uh, freezer trailers. They were showing them because they were saying they were running out of space to keep all the dead bodies because they were having a lot of people dying from COVID in New York.
Okay. And during the time, because we mentioned it as a start in March, around that time, um, what how this COVID-19 COVID-19 change your plans
Change my plans.
from what to now? So how since that time?
And what do you mean plans?
Well, in here, like you can mention any plans that you may
Whatever.
maybe have, you know.
Yeah, well, you can't go any. Oh, you know how I was gonna have my niece and nephew from the UK come and visit us, and of course they banned all travel, so that pretty much ended that. So hopefully soon they're supposed to come in 2021. I hope that's how it affected me as far as plans. I was getting looking forward to seeing my niece and my nephew.
And since you are thinking as a future, like say maybe during celebration like Thanksgiving, holidays, you know, like Christmas, do you are plan ahead and say, okay, this COVID-19 is gonna stay here for a while, so it's gonna affect to see our families, maybe your parents, as you mentioned it before.
Yeah, my family, we would always get together like Thanksgiving and Christmas, but this year was just my in-laws, my wife, and our two kids, and my two nieces. So it prevented us from seeing family that we haven't seen in a long time because we would always get together like in the holidays, but and before we would see each other on the holidays, we wouldn't see each other for a while, 6, 7 months, sometimes a year. And I believe I haven't seen my aunts and uncles, and some of them like in over a year.
Since pandemic start?
No, probably since last Christmas, since 2019.
Yes, yes, 2019. Yeah, yeah. Oh, Lord. And so based on that, how COVID-19 affect your job?
Oh, um, not too much. I mean, we have to take a temperature, but that's nothing extreme. I mean, we just have those thermometers that you put against your head, and we just have to sign in our what temperature we have and stuff like that. Oh, and some of the people wear masks, of course, but you don't. It's not mandatory though. I don't wear a mask at work, but a lot of people do. So like, they're yeah, that's pretty much it.
Hey, how do you feel about this change?
Oh, you know what? Before that question, the job site I was working at, from because I'm not working at Santa Rosa Hospital anymore. Now I'm working in Uvalde, Texas, and there's been a few people that have gotten it. Some of my coworkers, people from other trades like plumbers and air conditioner guys, and uh, and sheetrockers and framers. So they've had COVID at work, but no, lucky. I've been lucky.
So do you do the test? Do you go or do you plan to do the test?
Uh, my mother-in-law had gotten it, and as soon as I found out, I mean, I want to be responsible, and so I went. I didn't go to work as soon as I found out. I said, I'm not going to work the next day. I don't want to be responsible for getting people sick if I were to have it. But thank God I did get tested and I came out negative.
And can you explain where did you get a test?
City of San Antonio, they had a testing site over there at the Coliseum over there by the AT&T Center.
And what was your feelings? What are your as soon as you say that you find out that your mother-in-law have the COVID-19, um, during the process that you're thinking the next day maybe or whatever it was the next time to you taking your test, what is your feelings? Do you may get it or you may not get it?
I wasn't really worried. I mean, I didn't have any symptoms or anything, so I was pretty confident that I didn't have it. But no, in the back of your mind is like, if you do have it, like, then you can't go to work for a certain amount of days. Then you have to worry about getting behind on your bills and stuff, or about my kids getting it because we all live in the same household.
Good. Next is gonna be what concerns based on this you made, what you're saying that you're not getting, right? The COVID-19. What concern do you have about the economy moving forward?
I think the economy was doing fine before COVID. I think COVID kind of messed everything up because it had made people lose their jobs and stuff, and yeah, a lot of people lost their jobs, messed up the economy. I mean, it was doing fine before that. It's kind of ironic.
And do you see any changes? As you mentioned, you go to the grocery store, and do you see any changes in there with the prices of food or with the prices of the rise in the prices on products versus people don't have jobs, and how's gonna be this as a future in the future?
yeah, I don't know. Like, I think, I don't know. I think it's all a conspiracy. Personally, I think the government. I don't know. Like, it's hard. It's kind of weird to me, actually. I mean, I think there's always something behind what they're doing, what's going on.
Okay. And how the COVID-19 be changing your relationship with your family?
As far as it's, I don't get to see them as much. My mother got it, and so did my sister, because they both live in the same house. So I wasn't able to see them. Thank God they uh they recovered. They didn't get it bad. Thank God. Wasn't anything serious.
And yes, when based on that, and then you are telling me earlier some refer to the community. How has COVID-19 affect your community?
Um, what can I say? Community. As far as community, it's affected my family. Um, my brother, he was in the hospital for 2 months, almost passed away from it. So it was, I guess it made me start to believe more that it was real, instead of thinking that it's all a conspiracy. I mean, almost lost a very special family member to me. So thank God he recovered. He's already out of the hospital, but he was in there for 2 months, and we almost lost him. But thank God he made it through.
As you mentioned, that is any symptoms, as you hear maybe in the news, is it the same symptoms as people are talking about the night that you sent that your mother-in-law and to your brother being positive with the COVID-19? Can you say that is the same symptoms that people have been having for the COVID-19?
I didn't really ask, but I can tell by the way my brother talks. He has a hard time talking, so I don't know if it's because it messed up his lungs or whatever. But the the after effects, it didn't really. I don't see any change in my mother or my mother-in-law, because I mean I don't really talk to her personally.
Okay. Have you seen people around you changing their opinions day-to-day activities or relationship in response to the pandemic?
People are more serious about it. I mean, a lot of people wear their masks or whatever, um, looking to get the vaccine and all that stuff. Um, I mean, I wear a mask because I have to, but if I didn't have to, I wouldn't wear a mask.
Okay. Have you done any work or voluntary to help out neighbors or community member? If so, what?
No, I haven't. I'm already busy with my family, so I don't have time for that.
Okay. And based on what you tell me, the the maybe now you don't see you and your family, they don't see maybe your closest family as your mom. You mentioned your mom, you mentioned your sister. What is the way now that you communicate? You don't see them as much as you see maybe before.
um, call them on the phone, say hi, see how they're doing. Um, just to see how they're doing. And well, I do go see them, of course. I'm not gonna let that prevent me from seeing uh my mother, my sister, my nieces and nephews.
Do you use, yes, excuse me?
As long as I know that as long as I'm feeling, how can I say? As long as I know that I don't have it, I don't have any symptoms or whatever, or as long as my mother allows me to visit her, I'm gonna go see them.
Okay. And do you use it, one of these new apps that well, maybe it's not that new, but they start to be using more those apps that maybe people don't use in before the pandemic, or that wasn't too much popular, as for example, WhatsApp, FaceTime, Zoom.
Oh yes,
Did
yeah,
you?
yeah. They use them more, I would say. Um, like my mom started using Duo. She didn't use it before. She was, and my uncle used Zoom one time because he wanted the whole family to be there for a. I think it was my cousin, my little cousin's birthday, and he had invited us to, I guess, to sing happy birthday to her. So we did that, and so that was different.
That was different, as you say that your family get together. And
Yeah, it was on camera through. I think it was through Zoom. Yeah.
do you think families or friendship get more closer, but as a virtual? Maybe there's people that they don't talk each other, and maybe with this new technology, or maybe with the implement to the new technology, apps and sources that they already connect more in a daily basis.
No, not me. Not my family. No, I haven't seen. Like I said, I haven't seen my family in a while or talked to them really. I got a busy life, so don't have really have time.
Okay, and passing back to the health, the question for the health, you're mentioning about um, that your close family being sick, and a brother, mother-in-law, mother, and we're gonna ask you, how worried are you about getting this virus?
To tell the truth, I'm not really worried. I don't know why. I just, I guess I got a lot of faith in my immune system. I don't really worry about it too much. I do use hand sanitizer and all that stuff, but I wear a mask when I have to go places, but sometimes I forget my mask because I'm still not used to it. But at work, I don't even use a mask. A lot of people do though. And the people that have got it were the ones that were wearing masks, which is kind of funny.
And what do you think COVID-19 is affecting people's mental health? How did you handle your stress or their stress?
I don't really stress about it. The only time I stress about it is when I go somewhere and I realize I don't have the mask with me.
But do you think this pandemic is affecting people's health, mentally health?
I think so. Yeah. I think people believe anything they hear now. I think it's affecting the way they think. It all has to do with social media. They spread rumors and then people go crazy, like, and they go to the store and everybody starts taking everything. After this pandemic, I guess everybody's the way they think I guess they're thinking like something bad's gonna happen. I don't know. I just don't see the way people think. They just go crazy. They hear something on social media and they go to the store and they take everything and they're all hoarding everything and then we have these grocery store crises or gas crisis because the way people are thinking.
Okay, thank you. So going back to the topic of technology, you mentioned that you have two kids. So your kids right now, they're 100% online, they stay at home online, or they attend school.
They attend school.
So at the beginning of the pandemic, with everything get closed, I know the schools in San Antonio get closed after we come back from the spring break.
Hmm.
But they give an extra week for the spring break, and after that they decide to close the schools until the end of the school year, basically. So during that time, that your kids were 100% online,
Yes.
and do you have trouble or into getting to this new, well, can say this new technology learning environment?
Routine of, yeah, it was very hectic, very stressful. For my wife especially because she uh she has two kids, two little ones, a 9-year-old, well at the time an 8-year-old and a 3-year-old, and no, 4 years old. No, I'm sorry, 8 and 3 at the time. And they had to log in, but then again, she's a teacher, so she had to take care of her class as well as being a mom. So I mean, that really stressed her out. I'd have to hear about it when I would come home from work, how hard it was. I can't imagine trying to do something like that. It's seems very, I mean, it's very stressful.
So the technology, the classes for your children, they were online, and do you have provide? I mean, I'm not gonna say assume that you have internet, but during that time, do you have other like computer, tablets, whatever material, online material your kids needed?
Yes, yes, we did. They have tablets, and actually the school provided them with tablets, but we
Okay,
had internet.
good. Um, So based on your kids, right? They were going. So how did your kids react, or how did you see your kids react during the first months of the pandemic? They were engaged.
I would say not. No, I I think they needed to be in school, but yeah, it's I think not just them. I'm sure all the kids all over the United States were like that. I mean, you see on the news that they'd rather be in class than online. I guess they get disinterested because they can do whatever they want. They're not in the classroom. They don't have anybody to tell them. They don't have, if they're not going to log, if they don't want to log in, then they're not going to, because they don't have anybody telling them not to, or to log in. Maybe their parents are working, like if they're teenagers. But my kids, it was kind of hard because I'd say he'd get disinterested as well, my 8-year-old, and then my 3-year-old, he's kind of hyper and has a speech delay, and it was really hard to get him to log in.
It's like his daily routines: going to school, stay in class, see the teacher. It was different to stay sitting down in front of
Because
the.
he had his routine already with my 3-year-old, and he loves his teacher. So, and she's she had him in a routine, and then his routine broke, and like when he got home, was like it was very hard to get him to stay calm and be in front of the screen.
Yes. And based on what you tell me, so right now, you see any improvement on that, or in the education, mentioned to education with your two children?
Well, they're going to school now, so that's, I mean,
Oh,
that's better. But as far as I don't really the kids online, other kids I've seen on the news that a lot of them are having a harder time, or some of them are even kind of depressed because they want to see their friends, I guess, or have a regular life again, going to school. I'd say most of them say what I've seen on the news that they'd rather be in school than online. Go back to normalcy, kind of. But I don't think. I think. I think it's the same. To tell you the truth, I don't think it's improved from what I've seen because my wife's a teacher. So I mean, she tells me what's going on and how some of the students are. And it seems like because before the year before, I mean, they were doing good and she was helping them, and but a lot of her kids don't even log in, and they don't do their work. So now when it comes close to giving grades like progress reports or report cards, then they start sending her remind messages about how they can do their work or whatever, or how they can turn it in and all that stuff. So they're just waiting to the last minute to do their work when they're not doing it the whole school year.
so do you think this going on? Well, of course, it's because the pandemic, but you think it's also because that affect mentally, as you mentioned. You mentioned that you hear in the news that they're getting depressed. So, do you see any change based on your two kids and based on the news that you are talking about? Do you see any maybe report that they showing that are talking about like kids are getting maybe depression or maybe mentally issues, problems based on the pandemic, of course?
Uh, well, my kids go to school, so I can't really speak on what other kids are going through, just from what I've seen on the news, really, because I don't know anybody personally that has
So in if
the.
your kids going to school, do they able to wear the mask going to the school? I would say they have this rules that they have to follow to be able to go to school.
Yes. Well, yeah. Well, my 4-year-old, they had a hard time with him wearing his mask at first, but I think he's coming around. He's finally wearing his mask. The other day, we went to the store and he actually had it on. So praise to the teachers.
Okay. And based on the government topics, right, here in the pandemic, what have local leaders done in your community in response to the pandemic?
Uh, they give us updates on every night on the news, like how many people are in the hospital, how many people have died, how many people have COVID. I mean, they would have these meetings every day on the news at a certain time in the evening, giving updates and all that stuff. I don't think they do that anymore, but as far as uh, they give us updates every day on the news, like people that have, how many people have tested positive for that day, how many people have died, how many people have totally have gotten it in San Antonio.
Okay. And what do you think of their responses?
Um, I guess they're doing what they can. They're just trying to prevent the COVID from spreading, trying to do their best to maintain it. They're telling people to wear your mask and all that stuff wherever you go.
So, okay, thank you. You talking about like getting in the news, right, in the local in San Antonio, where they open again bars in restaurants. What are your opinion about that?
I think that was stupid. To tell you the truth, after that we had another spike of COVID again when they opened the bars. And then I think that's when they're sending more kids, when they're letting kids go to school too. So that's going to affect that too. If because you got some parents that are, I don't know, maybe not as responsible as other parents, going to bars and then spreading it to their kids, and their kids going to school. If they're going to school, spread to the other kids over there as well as the faculty. So I don't think it was a good idea for them to open bars at all.
Okay, thank you. And what do you think will happen to your job in the future? Based on what you hear in the news, you know, based on, this is based on the economic as the local news or national news be saying.
What was that question again?
Yes. What do you think or what do you hope will be happen to your work in the future? Are you telling me about reopening bars, reopening restaurants, and maybe the social media taking the news? So what do you think will be happen to your job in the future?
To my job?
Yes. Do you see very stable, like as you mentioned?
Working? Is that what?
Yes, it's working. So you see very stable your work.
Oh, hopefully with the vaccines, everything will start going back to normal. Because the more people that are vaccinated, the less people will get it, and people will go back to their jobs, or they'll have more job opportunities. Um, as far as me, um, I haven't lost work since the pandemic at all. I've still been going to work every day. Not one day did I lose work because of it. If I did miss work, it was something personal, not because of COVID.
Ok, bien. Y has mencionado de las vacunas, ¿verdad? De las vacunas del COVID-19. ¿Cuál es tu opinión? Or what is your opinion for the vaccine de las vacunas?
Um, I think it's a good thing. Maybe we get people back to normal. We have a normal life again. Get back to a sense of normalcy instead of having to wear the masks and all that stuff. Um, People will be able to go to uh, games and all that stuff, or concerts. Mm, yeah, go to games and concerts and stuff like that, or Fiesta. Sure, a lot of people miss that.
Do you personally miss it?
Do I personally miss it?
Yes.
Not well. Yeah, well, I mean, to go to a game and concerts and stuff like that. Yeah, I miss it. We'll be back to
And so do you think to get the vaccine as soon as you be able to, or you were maybe provided the vaccine? Do you want to get it, the vaccine?
Not really. I don't. I don't know. I don't really believe in it. I don't want to turn into a zombie.
That's you told the told for the vaccine.
It says the zombie apocalypse. And like, how other way can they make that happen is if they start giving people all these vaccines and people start turning into zombies.
So you mentioned that you want things go back to normal for fiesta. Well, especially talking about here in San Antonio for fiesta, for games and activities that before the pandemic, there was everything normal, right? Like a normal life. But in fact, if they say maybe the local news or maybe the government say that to be able to do that, you have to get the vaccine. So you are against to get the vaccine?
Yeah. I wouldn't want them to make me take a vaccine if I didn't want it.
Okay.
I mean, as far as vaccines, I hadn't had a flu shot in many, many years. And from all that whole time, I never got the flu, never got sick from the flu. But until when I started working at the hospital, to work there, I had to take a flu shot. So they made me take it. So what choice did I have? But if that doesn't happen to me, I'm not gonna voluntarily go somewhere and get the vaccine. I'm not gonna do that unless they make me. Then I'll probably get a vaccine.
Okay. Okay. As we continue, if you could go back in time and talk to yourself before the pandemic, what would you tell yourself?
What would I tell myself? It's a good question. Before the pandemic?
Yes. You could go back in time and talk to yourself before the pandemic. What will you tell yourself?
Wash your hands. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question.
Is any maybe something positive, like you think about it, say, okay, you know what, next year around March, we're gonna have this pandemic or this pandemic that it's gonna be stop us to go to store. I mean, not to go to store, to have different life, maybe to visit people. Isn't anything special that,
Vacation, stuff like that.
yes, maybe I don't, maybe any plans that you have as a future, maybe start to doing that before the pandemic?
Yeah. We wanted to go to Disney World. Can't do that now. I don't think. I really don't know if we can go there still. I don't know if it's open or not.
Okay, like traveling, right? You mainly prefer be able to traveling before the pandemic.
Yeah. Change that. Yeah.
Okay. And what advice would you have based on what you have learned for the pandemic?
What advice? I really don't have any advice. I don't know. I can't answer that. I don't know how to answer the question.
Okay. And how has the pandemic changed who you are and how you see the world?
How I am, it hasn't changed me how I am. Still the same way, I would say. Um, what was the second part of the question?
So and how you see the world. So you see the world the same
No,
as you.
I don't. I don't see the world the same. I don't know. It's kind of weird. I think it's all. I think it was made in a by scientists. To tell you the truth,
Do you think the virus was made by science
I think it's man-made. Yes.
and spread to the world, or
Yeah, I think so. I don't think I'm the only one that believes that. I think there's a lot of people that believe that. There's all kinds of conspiracies going around. But I don't know. I think it's all political, to tell you the truth. That's just my opinion. I think it's all political. It's about politics.
and how this politics is gonna be changing the community or the people because they see part of, well, it's not like you don't hear the news or you are not part of political parties. um, in what level live the community with the cause this pandemic to the society to
What
the
was
next.
what was the question?
Yes, so see, you mentioned that you may think that there's a political, right? Political conspiracy. So, what is your opinion to is this is a conspiracy by political? Where did they left people? Where did they in what know what category and what level or what place live the people that been suffering more?
They don't care. I don't think they care about the people. They just care about themselves.
Okay, thank you for your answer. And how do you think the pandemic will have lasting effect on the world, even it is over?
Um, I don't know. Maybe people won't give hugs anymore. They won't shake hands like they used to. Uh, close contact. People won't be in close contact anymore. I think it's changed a lot of the way people think about that now. More like fist bumps and all that stuff. I don't know. I think the handshake's probably dead and stuff like that. I don't think people shake hands as much anymore. It's still kind of weird because sometimes I meet people and I try to shake their hand, but then it's awkward. One person's going like this and the other person's doing this. So change that.
Thank you. What are you most looking forward to when the pandemic is over?
Not wearing masks.
Uh,
To go everywhere with a mask. I think that's the only thing for me personally, because I'm always forgetting it.
You're gonna feel free to go to the games and
Oh,
concerts.
to basketball games, go to concerts because I used to go to a lot of concerts, and I guess being crowd with people, not having to worry about getting COVID. Not that I like crowd, but a lot of other people do. So it'd be good for the people that used to like to go to like to be in crowds and all that stuff. They like to be around people. Not, I mean, before that, I mean, we didn't have to worry about getting sick. Well, you did get sick, but you didn't have to worry about a life or death virus back then, like you do now.
Muy bien.
Way of thinking
You're thinking.
from then to now, yeah.
So one of the first things that you're gonna do is, with everything get over, is just maybe get out your mask, throw away your mask, and go to games. So go to first game, wherever you say you like. Also go to the first, buy a ticket for the first season game for that time,
Or a concert, yeah.
or a concert. Yeah, as you say. So do you think this is gonna be long? What do you think of this pandemic? Do you think this pandemic is gonna be, it will finish maybe,
Another year, maybe.
you
Hope.
give it more of 1 year?
Yeah, maybe. Hopefully less.
Okay. Is anything else that you wanna add it out to this interview?
No. I appreciate you taking the time to interview me. I was very happy to do it. Um, to get my opinion and stuff like that. Pretty much that's it for that. Answering the question.
Thank you. Okay, well, we have completed the interview with Michael Juarez, and today, February 28, 2021. So my name is Ana Maria Juarez, and we finish and complete the interview in how COVID-19 is affecting San Antonio in the Hispanic society. Muchas gracias y hasta luego. Gracias.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.